We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with an interesting theory that Solo Sikoa, who has basically taken over the Bloodline since Roman's title loss and subsequent hiatus after WrestleMania 40, may not be done when it comes to removing some of the current members of the Bloodline after Jimmy Uso's vicious betrayal, and it wouldn't be any of the new Bloodline members that Solo has introduced to fans in recent weeks, including Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. It would be none other than the Wiseman, Paul Heyman. Wrestling personality Sam Roberts recently addressed a fan question on his podcast regarding WWE possibly having Haku replace Paul Heyman in the Bloodline as Solo Sikoa's new Wiseman. And while Sam Roberts doesn't see that scenario happening for one reason or another, he believes there's a chance that Solo could still kick Paul Heyman out of the Bloodline prior to Roman Reigns' return, saying, "Look, it's not impossible, but Haku cannot do Paul Heyman promos. Like, Paul Heyman is there to do Paul Heyman promos. I mean, eventually, he might get thrown out right before Roman comes back, but Haku and Paul Heyman would serve two very different roles. Is Solo gonna do all the talking for the Bloodline? I don't know, he went from doing none of the talking to doing all of the talking. That's my only problem." Now, do you guys believe Solo Sikoa will soon be kicking out the last original Bloodline member in Paul Heyman soon, and potentially replacing him with a new member such as Haku? Or do you think Solo will keep Heyman around in the faction for the time being? Honestly, we wouldn't be surprised at all if Solo Sikoa soon turns on Paul Heyman, because that certainly appears to be the direction WWE are heading in, as the tension continues to grow between Paul Heyman and the rest of this new Bloodline. Now it appears as though the injury crisis in WWE is continuing to rear its ugly head, as yet another major WWE superstar is injured and out of the 2024 King of the Ring tournament. And that said, WWE star is former world champion Bobby Lashley. On Monday Night Raw this week, Drew McIntyre was replaced in the 2024 King of the Ring tournament by Jey Uso due to an injury, and now Bobby Lashley is the next major star to be pulled from this big tournament due to injury, which is definitely unfortunate. The news of Bobby Lashley's injury and being pulled from the King of the Ring tournament was announced by SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis on social media ahead of tomorrow night's SmackDown show, and will be replaced by Angelo Dawkins against Tama Tonga. Right now, we have no details regarding the severity of Bobby Lashley's injury, or if there even is a real injury to begin with, or if this is just part of a storyline. But like we mentioned, it truly does appear as though there's a bit of an injury crisis in WWE right now, and Bobby Lashley may very well be the latest victim of it. Here was the announcement from SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis, who broke this sad news on Twitter or X.
Good afternoon, WWE Universe. It's your SmackDown GM, Nick Aldis, with an update and some slightly unfortunate news ahead of tomorrow's SmackDown, Friday, 8/7 Central, only on Fox. Unfortunately, as many of you know, Bobby Lashley was set to take on Tama Tonga in the King of the Ring, but I've been informed that Bobby has suffered an injury during training and is going to be unable to compete. He's not been medically cleared to compete in that match tomorrow night. So, unfortunate news for Bobby Lashley, but a fortunate opportunity for the man taking his place. And that man, I have decided, will be Angelo Dawkins of the Street Profits. So, tomorrow, for the first time ever, Angelo Dawkins of the Street Profits will go one-on-one with Tama Tonga in the King of the Ring. Best of luck to both of those men, and I'll see you all there tomorrow night, only on SmackDown.
Now we truly hope Bobby Lashley isn't seriously injured if this news is true, and Bobby was legitimately injured, forcing WWE to remove him from the King of the Ring tournament this year, as the company certainly can't afford any more big stars being forced to the sidelines. As it appeared as though Lashley was just about to get himself involved in a feud on SmackDown with Carmelo Hayes, which is a rivalry with big potential. So again, we hope Lashley's not seriously injured and can be back in action within the next couple of weeks, but we'll provide you guys with more details regarding Lashley's injury status as they become available. We now have some pretty fantastic news regarding Randy Orton's status with WWE, and it appears as though the Viper won't be retiring or hanging up the boots anytime soon, which was obviously a concern for a lot of fans when Orton was out of action for such a long time, due to the serious back or spinal injury. Now, Randy Orton was recently interviewed by Adam's Apple, and Randy provided fans with some major details regarding his future WWE schedule and when he plans to retire, and clearly Randy Orton feels great after the surgery he underwent for his back injury, saying, "Well, if you would have asked me 2 years ago how much longer I have left in wrestling, I would have thought it would have been close to the end, but I had a spinal fusion a year and a half ago, and that changed the game. I'd been in pain through my entire 30s. I was hurting. I was begging for time off when I was 35, and I think his quote to me was, "Mother Nature gets us all." And, that's hard to hear when you're 35 and your back hurts and you're busting your ass for this company. There's been some changes, and now I think instead of pushing guys and running their dicks into the ground until they fall apart and they can't do it anymore, it's a great atmosphere to go, okay, how can we make this guy last? And the beauty of it is I'm not even there yet. I feel so great after my surgery. I'm a full-time guy. I don't want to do the old Undertaker or Shawn Michaels schedule, which they needed to do, understandably. But wrestle at WrestleMania, take the summer off, maybe you'll see him at SummerSlam, yada yada yada. I want to be on the road every week. I want to make all the TVs and be on all the PLEs, and at 44, just turned 44, I would love to be able to go into my 50s. Maybe I wrestle until I'm 50 and call it, and that's 30 years. 30 years with the same company on top. I wrestled more pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call it, than anyone else in the history of the WWE. I've been around a long time, but not only that, I've been here the whole time and I've been busting my ass, whether I'm injured or not. Been showing up, and it just feels like now is the perfect environment for me to thrive. And if I do need to take a week off because I am getting up there, I get it. There's no question. There's been twice since I've been back in November where I was like, "Hey Hunter, can I take a week to just recover so I could be 100% for the following week?" He said, "Oh sure, yeah. As long as you communicate that to me, no problem." So, having that in my back pocket, it's a real peace of mind knowing that if I need, because I am 44, if I need a week, they'll give it to me. Honestly, it's fantastic news that Randy Orton's not going to be hanging up the boots or retiring anytime soon, as there's still a lot more he can accomplish in WWE, as well as help out the future generation of superstars by working with them and giving his immense insight and knowledge of the business. No doubt a lot of wrestling fans want to see Randy Orton get at least one more run as a world champion, and considering right now Orton's planning to wrestle until he's 50, there's a solid chance that Randy Orton actually gets more than one world title reign in that time, as Orton would have about 6 more years left in his in-ring career, given the fact that he's currently 44 years old. WWE is definitely in a better place when Randy Orton's actively performing in the company, and we should truly enjoy the final years of Randy Orton's career, because he's an absolute living legend and one of the all-time greats who will miss terribly once he is retired. Well guys, that's it for today's major wrestling news. Make sure you leave a like and comment, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so you'll never miss out on an episode. Finally, if you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter at TSE Wrestling, and we will see you guys in the next video.